Hey everybody, welcome back to, welcome to the very first official episode of Black Excellence in Mental Health, the podcast. I'm Dr. Scott, I'm your host, and I'm looking forward to this new journey with y'all. So today, let's talk about something that we call divine intervention. I try not to get too religious when it comes to like these type of things, but I mean, every now and again, you got to, plain and simple. So I want to talk about my journey a little bit and what led me to where I'm at now with my own private practice. So a lot of people who don't know me know that I've been trying to get started in this mental health field for a very long time now. I started out years ago as a federal employee working at the commissary agency, working my way up as far as I could go. Then I ended up transferring out to the supply system in the federal government, where I did another, I want to say maybe like 6 or 7 years in that system. All while working in that system, I was working on my degrees to like get to where I could be a counselor. So long story short, not really, but I ended up being in this position on the federal government in the supply field where I had finally accomplished my degree. And I had the opportunity to take a new job in the field that I always wanted to. But the issue was that when I was going to move over to the field that I wanted to work in, or where I got my degree in, I should say, it wasn't going to be any benefit to it monetary wise anyway. So HR in my current position back then knew I was in the process of moving, so they kind of promised me a new promotion in a new position. And they did it real casual, like they was like, hey, we got this opening. I know you applied for it in the past. You didn't really get it, but you have the experience now. You have the time. It's yours as soon as we post the job. So I was like, cool. Mind you, by now I had already received the offer for a job in the mental health field. Of course, I'm not counselor yet, but it was an entry-level job into the mental health field. So I'm thinking, well, damn, I can slide over to the field that I wanted work in, or I can chase this money. And I ended up trying to chase the money. I called up the people who offered me a position back then. I might as well tell you guys because we all family at this point. So it was the VA hospital, and they were hiring me for this addiction therapist position. Real low on grade entry level type stuff, but it would have gave me the footing I needed to get into the door. And I don't know how many people out there are familiar with the federal government pay system or the GS scale. In my current position, I was already a GS9, which was like mid-tier level pay. Like you're not broke, but you're not top tier either. So the position that was going to be at the VA hospital, while I was entry level, it would have been a lateral transfer for me. So I would have went in making the same amount of money that I was already been making or have been making for the last 2 or 3 years. So the potential promotion was a GS11. So we talking maybe a nice bump in salary, maybe $6,000, $7,000. At the time, just married, really, trying to get our finances straight, do big grown up type shit. Oops, sorry, I shouldn't be cussing. I'm a doctor. Just playing. I'm real low down earth. But anyway, I ended up declining the position at the VA hospital because it was basically promised to me that this GS11 position, as soon as the job posted, would be mine. Needless to say, the job post, and I did not get it. Interviewed for it and everything, but did not get a position. So I turned down my blessing to get into the field that I've been working so hard to get into to kind of chase the money. And the story gets a little deeper than that because, in a sense, I was really hard-headed. My uncle down there in Georgia, I kind of had a conversation with him about the situation because the way it played out, me and my wife had went down to Georgia for, I think, something related to school, and it was all around the same time. And my uncle told me, he was like, nephew, do not chase the money. The money is going to come eventually. Do what you love or do what you are passionate about, and the money will come. Nephew, do not chase the money. And I was hard-headed. I chased the money and did not get the job. So, fast forward. After not getting the job, being discouraged in that position, of course I started, I can't think of the new term that they call it now, but like basically aggressively applying for anything and everything mental health, no matter where it was. I was trying to apply to get out of that position. It took 4 years for me to even be referred for another position at the VA hospital. Ironically, it was not in a therapist position at all. It's something that they call a psych tech, which is a combination of administrative assistant, CNA kind of without the wiping booties, and basically a psychiatrist, a psychologist, straight up, for lack of better words, bitch. You do all the dirty work for the psychiatrist and psychologist. But at that time, it was like, look, not gonna make the same mistake again. I gotta take this piece. I'm going for it. Mind you, I still ended up doing a lateral transfer for the most part. So I get in that position and I'm working, I'm learning the field, I'm working in it. I'm also doing some side work for the local community service board in the counseling field, just trying to get my license. It gets to the point where it's like I apply for the state board to start the actual process to get my counseling license. In that process, you have 4 years to complete the whole process, to accumulate all the hours you need for your license and take the state board. So thinking I had all of my ducks in a row, I reach out to my supervisor at the time in the VA hospital and I'm like, hey, I'm ready to start my license, start the process to get my license as a counselor. And they're like, cool, that's fine. Go ahead and do it. So I reach out to a bunch of people. Thank God my wife had a connect for somebody that could be my actual supervisor. We talk, we start the paperwork, we get everything submitted to the board, and boom, my approval comes in a letter. The clock officially starts. So I go back to my supervisor, hey, I've been approved by the board to start accumulating my hours. I'm ready to go. Let's go. And my supervisor turns around and says, we can't let you do that in your current position. We call that double dipping. So you're going to have to do everything on your own time and not use your position that you're in to get your hours. So boom, straight shot to the heart. Once again, disgruntled, angry, feeling betrayed, don't know how I even let myself get to this point. But anyway, time goes on. So about 2 years later, I meet a new psych tech that comes in. By now, mind you, I'm like a senior psych tech for the VA hospital. So I'm basically a leader psych tech. So I'm training new people come in, and I just happened to meet one of the new guys I was training. And he's like, hey, they've been telling me you have your degree in counseling. Why you haven't, started your hours yet? And I tell him my story. He's like, bro, they totally got you. As long as you have approval from the board and your outside supervisor, you can start and do your time anytime. as long as you're performing the duties that are required for your licensure. And mind you, in my site tech role, I was doing those things. I was providing brief counseling. I was doing case management. I'm doing assessment. Everything that you needed to check the box, I was doing. So around this time again, my wife, blessing again, she moves over to a management position over at the Community Service Board. And it's a brand new program, and the manager's like, hey, I really like, for your husband to come on board too. Mind you, I'm old mind mentality set where once you get in the federal government, you don't leave it. So the way it played out was when my wife moved over to this new position, she was getting ready to go on maternity leave to have our son. And with the federal government, I got paternal leave. So as soon as she went out, my son was born, I was at the other place, basically working full time while being out from my quote unquote real full-time job. When she went back to work and my paternity leave was over, I maintained accumulating my hours by doing PRN work for the Community Service Board, and of course, starting to count the hours that I'm doing at work. Finally, around November that year, well, let's go back. Fast forward a year. November the next year, I finally get hired into a licensed professional counseling position at the VA hospital as an unlicensed person. Fast forward again, let's say maybe 10 months, I finally accumulate all my hours to satisfy the board requirement. I passed the state examination and I get my license in July. Still unsatisfied with the way things are going at the VA hospital, I started my private practice. Of course, I'm doing everything on the side. So I'm working at the VA full time. I'm coming home at night and I'm seeing clients from like 7 to 10 o'clock at night. September rolls around. Some bull swanky, as one of my colleagues would say, happened. And I knew it was time for me to go. I ended up telling them about the last 2 weeks of September, hey, I'm putting my 2 weeks notice. I'm gonna step out on faith and I'm gonna open my private practice full time. A little over a month later, here we are now. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, it ain't been all glitter and glitz, but I'm enjoying the hell out of it, and the business is growing, and I'm looking forward to the future. So that's just a little quick story. Of course, I left a lot of things in and out because I'm short on time, because of course, I got an appointment in 2 minutes. But this is Dr. Scott signing off. This is how I got here, and I look forward to you guys listening, commenting, and checking us out. Once again, this has been another episode of Black Excellence